There's the link. Jump over to Slack. Oh, yep. I bet they can't hear you because why would I let them hear you? Change this to this. Okay, now they can hear you.
Can you hear me now, internet friends?
Friends, that's a loose word.
The only friends that I have. Man, with this being in Teams now, my window placement is very tricky.
Oh yeah, I guess we need to put that in the notes, don't we?
Freak Teams. Teams, I'm gonna punch you right in the nose.
We know how Todd loves some Teams.
I mean, I would like it better if it liked me better.
You always like things that like you.
Just, it wants me to be in an abusive relationship where it does horrible things to me and I love it, and I'm just not on board with that. Get some lip lube on here. All right, everybody. Shane has a hard stop in like 20 minutes, so we're going to go get this. We're going to get on this now. So buckle up, folks. We're going to be doing our Microman impersonations here as we talk as fast as we can. Both of us have lubricated our lips, making it easier for those words to flow out. Oh, it's Mario.
I see that. I like that.
I didn't think we were doing it today, so I didn't dress up.
Yeah, well.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Todd and Shane's Cloudy Podcast, episode 440, recorded September 4th, 2019.
Woo!
We're here. We almost didn't get here. We had we at the last minute we had a technical hurdle. Shane, tell the folks about the technical hurdle that we nearly didn't clear.
Oh, I don't know if you guys know, but Microsoft really wants the world to use Teams. I think it's come up a couple times.
It's they've mentioned it. They're very very smooth and calm, but yeah.
Yeah, so about a week and a half ago, I got an update to Skype for Business that now says, "Hey, you should try Teams," like in big purple letters at the top. And one of the things they've done to really encourage that behavior, because I was ignoring it.
Yeah, well,
Basically, Skype for Business no longer works for me.
Yeah, and I was the only one you use Skype for Business with, right?
Yes.
And it was only for, I mean, we chat during the week, but it was mainly for this because we could chat any number of different ways. So yes, Shane had been suffering through Skype for Business for little old me, and Microsoft's like, nope, not even for that guy.
They've cut Todd off. Yeah, it's done this really weird thing where like it's super zoomed in all the time. I rebooted thinking that was a problem. That didn't help. But basically, I can open up an instant message with Todd. I can type to him. I can't see what I type. I can't see what he responds to. If he calls me, I can't see the button to answer. I can't do an outbound call. But basically, the only thing I can use Skype for Business for now is to send one-way messages to Mr. Clint.
Which honestly, I would think of from your perspective, that would be an upgrade. Like that would have been something you'd been requesting from them for years. If there's such a way that I can just blast things to Todd and not have to put up with all of the crap that he sends back, and so yeah, I'm surprised that this is you see this is a problem.
Well,
honestly.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, it's stellar. It's just Wednesday mornings that I need it to cooperate.
Yeah, so we switched over. We called an audible football season starting here in the U.S., so all the football analogies will be coming out. We called an audible and we switched over to Teams, and as much as I dislike using Teams, it didn't go as poorly as I expected it would.
Well, I think a lot of that had to do with XSplit, right? That's the software that Todd and I use to stream this to the internet.
Yep.
A long time ago, they broke their Skype connection.
Yes.
And so we've been screen scraping. So we literally just screen scrape. But then I guess about a month ago, right, it started this whole thing now where even though I'm hosting, my image stutters, but your image doesn't stutter. This is a special dance that we do to put this show on.
It is. And a different dance every week. It's like today, tango. Tomorrow, yes. So anyway, we're doing it in Teams now. I think that's probably where we're gonna end up going. So we'll stick with this. So we've only got you for a few minutes. You are a tough man to get a hold of. So we've got a slot for you. I've got like a timer going on my screen, counting down to when you turn into a pumpkin. So we need to do that. Couple of things, topics that you and I have talked about in the past that I wanted to bring up. You got a Ring doorbell a while back, and I think last time we talked about the cameras that you put up.
Yep.
At that point, I had gotten cameras, and I do this thing where I get very excited about technology. I rush right out and spend too much money on technology, and then I let it set in a box on my desk and sort of ferment and sort of mature a little bit before I actually use said technology. And so we were at that stage with the Blink cameras that I bought. I was, letting it mature. It's kind of like supposedly after you grill a steak, you're supposed to let it set for like 5 minutes.
Whoever does that?
Nobody. I can't wait 5 minutes for my steak. But I came with my Blink cameras. So I got some Blink cameras from Amazon, specifically the Blink XT2.
Okay.
And I'll put a link in the show notes for those. These had a couple of things that I liked. They're not doorbell cameras. They're just cameras. So they don't do the doorbell thing like yours do. And basically, you have a similar issue. There are places outside of my house that I can't see from inside my house. Like I can't see my driveway, a couple of things like there's a big tree in the way. And so I really just wanted to cover some of those blind spots. The other thing is I can't always remember whether I've shut the garage door or not. And so this was a good, nearly $100 solution to prevent me from having to open the door to my garage and look in as I go to bed at night. Now I can just pull up that camera on my phone.
Good job.
So it matches a bunch of these cameras. These XT2s are indoor, outdoor. So mine are all outdoor, but they work indoor. They are battery only, though you can power them with micro USB, but they have 2 AA batteries in them. And those are supposed to last, a couple of years or a year. I assume it depends entirely on how much I hit the camera and make it light up. And they work with the Amazon thing, who shall not be named. I've got one of those that has a screen on it, so I can bring up one of the cameras on the screens.
Oh.
So kind of checked all of those boxes for me. Put those up. I've had them kind of sitting around, just kind of sitting on stuff. I mounted them this weekend, and it worked pretty well. So the mount is only just a couple little screws, and just drilled them in, and they seem to be going pretty well for me.
And what? Man, first off, I can't get over the battery life, right? I mean, the Ring, I've got this big giant nickel cadmium rechargeable thing. It's about the size of my car battery, and it's like, oh yeah, you get about a month out of it. So the fact that they think 2 AA's is going to last you months, if not a year, is that's kind of insane. So
that's what they say. So, I mean, I've only had them, and I try to be very judicious about when I hit the camera, because I'm sure that just kills it. I lose a month of battery time every time I fire that camera up. I'm sure.
Every time that makes sense.
Yeah, but it does have a micro USB port in the back, so I could power it that way if it was in a place that lent itself well to that. Stacy's asking, don't I have a garage door that is also Wi-Fi? I do. So yes, that it would be another way that I could check that, but this way is better.
Yeah, let's just be clear, folks. I have spent more time talking about garages and garage doors with Todd than probably any other topic we've ever discussed. I don't know. I'm assuming this is a daily occurrence in his house. They probably have names. Todd in that garage, there is a whole... I've got like 7 different stories about Todd's garage doors for you guys.
And I haven't even told them all to you.
Yeah, so the fact that he has a camera just to double check his garage door, this is not weird to me in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
I have 2 cameras right now to do it. I have 2 cameras in my garage pointing at my garage door.
So, and do the Blinks, do they have any type of like motion detector or any of that stuff?
They do. They have motion detection, and you can, fill in the zone, and then there's an advanced thing where you can, the zone things get a little easier. I played with that a little bit. It seems to work as advertised. It triggered a bunch, so I need to go back and see if I can put like time limits in, because one of them's showing my driveway, and my kids are always playing in the driveway during the day, and I really don't want a bunch of alerts on that. But if somebody pulls up in the middle of the night, I want that. But yeah, it has that. That seems to work pretty well.
Nice. Yeah, it's been one of the things I've enjoyed because we talked about line last time, like how mine really can't see very far down my driveway.
Right.
So where I've got it at, basically 95% of the motion alerts have been like legit things, And a lot of times it's really just, it buzzes like, oh, there's a motion alert. And I know Nicole is on her way home. It's like, oh, she's here, right? So I don't even look at them. I just, when it triggers, I'm like, oh, okay. I can go upstairs and pretend like I wasn't down here, working all night. So the motion stuff's been all nice. So
yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know how much I care about that. Because like for me, I know what time my wife's coming home, and my garage door opener does give me alert when it opens. So I get that. But these cameras, individually, they're like $90 a piece, and I bought 3 of them for, oh, don't tell me I know this one. 3 of them for $250, so now we're down to like $80 a piece.
Okay, well, I look forward to hearing how the battery life goes, because that's definitely one of the concerns, not concerns, but the challenges with the Ring system is there is battery charging. So the nice thing is the floodlight one, the one that's out by the garage, it has 2 batteries, so hopefully you can kind of never have it go down, but we'll see.
Yeah. With it, for $250, I figured I could play with this a little bit. Oh, these also have audio, so I can listen and talk on them.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool. The other big technology change that I made is you and I did a cord cutting episode like a year and a half ago, something like that.
Yep.
And we continue to get questions about that online and in person. I noticed the weird thing. I've been using PlayStation View from the beginning, and it was having problems every once in a while. It couldn't connect to the stream, is all the message would say. So I would, browse to a channel, it would say can't connect to stream, but it would be online. It isn't a Wi-Fi thing or something. After a couple of weeks of that, my wife and I realized that what that error message really means is, Todd, we can't show you your local news. So like we would be watching something on Amazon or whatever, and then fire View up at, 9:58 to watch the 10 o'clock news. We would see the last 2 minutes of Blue Bloods or whatever's on. And then we would see the promo for the news, and then can't connect to stream. We're like, huh. So then we would flip to any of the other channels, the local channels, they would work fine. And then, so we watch CBS. So then at like 10:35, we'd go back, can't connect to stream. And then poof, Colbert would show up. So we noticed that at 10 and 6, and it's the local news on that one channel. So I've been curious about YouTube TV for a while. They were in their infancy when we did this, so they weren't really a viable option. They've got a 7-day trial or whatever. So I fired that up a week ago. I'm switching. Number one, I can watch my news, which is nice. But the interface, I use Roku for everything now. The interface is much better than the PlayStation View interface is. I have a bunch of Vizio TVs, and they have a YouTube TV app built in, which I understand will not age well, and at some point will quit getting updated and I'll have to replace it. But for now, fewer Rokus, easier to use. The phone app on Android is pretty sweet, and it does things like I put in some stuff. Like I like the Iowa State Cyclones, I like the Kansas City Chiefs, and I have the option of it alerting me when those things show up. So this weekend I was down in Kansas City doing some shopping, and the Cyclones were playing, and my phone's like, hey, you want to watch a Cyclone game? And sure enough, I did. So that worked out pretty well. So we're a week in, and I think I'm ditching PlayStation View.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that recently PlayStation View has been having some problems with licensing type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's really what your issue was a licensing error or challenge.
Yep.
And I'm guessing YouTube just showed up and said, here's a dump truck full of money. We'll do whatever you want.
Yeah. And I don't blame PlayStation for the licensing thing. Every side of that is trying to get as much money as they can. That's not PlayStation's issue. One thing, though, is the interface is way better. And I don't know about you, about PlayStation, but again, I use Roku all the time. All the network stations are at the top, which, again, we just pretty much watch for news and local sports. And then the other stations are at the bottom, and they're all in alphabetical order, which makes sense because there's no channel numbers. But all of the like ESPNs and all that are at the bottom or at the top there. I don't watch a lot of sports, and I can't get those to go away. So if I want to watch, I want to watch the Travel Channel or something, I have to scroll through all of it, and there's no way to curate that I know of. With YouTube TV, I can go into the guide and say, don't show these channels, show these channels, move these channels up so I can take, the channels that I like, slide them up to the top so they show right at the end of the network channels. So that's been really nice.
Nice. Yep. No, I definitely have also been pondering. I've not gone as far as you to actually do the YouTube trial, but I've given it a good ponder because the other weird thing, right? I don't know if you ran into this, but with the preseason football games, apparently there's a whole bunch of weird licensing restrictions around those. So, but I don't think YouTube could play those either. I don't know.
You're a Bengals fan. I'm a Chiefs fan.
Yep.
And there was a game. So right after I signed up for YouTube TV, I discovered this exact thing. So there's a preseason game. My Chiefs and Lori's Packers were playing. Chiefs are AFC. Packers are NFC, so they're covered by different networks. So the game was shown on both networks. So I think it was the AFC's is on CBS and the NFC I think is on Fox. So in the guide, that game is showing up on two adjacent channels. I happened to be watching it on CBS. It was fine. I was watching the game. I go back to the guide. I try to watch that exact same show on Fox. I couldn't get it because of licensing or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny, right? And so Nicola read about it a little bit. And she said that basically the preseason games are on just a different set of contracts than the regular season. They just haven't come up for renegotiation in this new streaming world. I'm like, don't you think somebody would be like, hey, we would like that stuff to be on TV. We should probably stop and renegotiate these right now.
It is such a weird thing. So you would think that, but everybody. So this came up when streaming first came out with commercials. So the idea behind commercials is to get that in front of as many eyeballs as possible.
Yep.
But there were a bunch of places where streaming stations couldn't show commercials because they weren't licensed for it. So like the streaming providers had to pay the people that own the commercial to play the commercial to advertise the thing. And so yes, there's all kinds of weirdness. So hopefully once the regular season kicks in, I won't have these problems.
Right. Yeah, ESPN runs into that sometimes. You'll notice they'll be like, they'll play we're on commercial break instead because they don't have the license to play the commercial.
Yeah, and some of that I think comes from the Actors Guild. So the actors that act in commercials have a contract, and that specifies what medium that commercial that they're in can be played on because they get paid. And so now the commercial maker can't sell it to streaming and get money that the actors aren't getting because their contract doesn't. I mean, it's such a complicated.
Yeah. You know what? In every one of those scenarios, I do not feel bad when they end up getting replaced, right? Just don't use those people for commercials anymore. We don't. I don't feel bad for the ones that can't get their heads out of their butts and move on to the world that we're in now. Right?
Yeah.
The world has moved on, people. You've got to go embrace this or go out of business. But don't ask me to feel bad for you. Right?
Yeah. Lori in the chat room said she actually prefers that. The whole commercial break in progress with the elevator music is. I'm with you.
I like how she spelled Muzak.
Yeah, that's what it's called, Muzak. All right, so we probably only have time for one other topic. So you put a couple of in, or I put a couple in. What do you? What's your fancy? I took the first half. You can have the second half.
I was just gonna say, I thought can run through a few of these really quick. I think the new SharePoint web parts, right? A whole new host of those got rolled out in August, or I guess they got announced and are rolling out as we speak.
Yeah.
That's one of those ones where Microsoft's keeping up with the Joneses. They basically, all the web parts, if we looked at them, it was like adding a second call to action to the hero web part. It was a button web part. Yep. They were really about letting people build true web experiences inside of SharePoint, right? So if you've ever done any type of like website, like, what do you call that? Where you funnel customers through an experience, right? You want them to go in, you want them to land on this page, click on this page and do this, right? You'd be surprised how much time we spend like manipulating what a person does when they land on a web page.
Yeah.
And so what the SharePoint team's done is released a bunch of web parts and components that allow you to build
Gesundheit.
Let you build more of that type of experience. I'm allergic to web experiences, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just thought that was kind of neat that they were keeping up with the Joneses.
It is the allergy season in Ohio.
Oh, well, what happens? We went to St. Louis for a soccer tournament, and apparently St. Louis is just like a swamp. I guess I didn't realize that.
We went to Kansas City over the weekend, and half my family, as soon as we crossed the Missouri state line, started sneezing and eyes watering. And yep, I'm. Mhm.
Yeah, it was like it hasn't rained in 3 days. I'm like, there's giant puddles. Yeah, it just never dries here. I'm like, okay, that's weird, but okay.
Oh.
So when we talked about like we use it as an opportunity to talk about that's why it got settled, right? I'm sure it's fertile farmland because it's always got all this water. You can grow crops and all that. So, but yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, the web parts, I thought that was a stellar announcement, a nice little bump for SharePoint Online. So
Yeah, and I agree with all of that. And another thing that I noticed is I had customers trying those web parts out immediately. And that tells me two really good things. That tells me that Microsoft is doing a better job broadcasting when these things come out. Now, the customer that I was working with is fairly technologically savvy and on top of that, but they saw them and they had questions about them. I was on a call with a customer yesterday and they're like, we're using this new button web part and I'm like, wow, that thing has been out for like 7 minutes and you've already got it on a web page and you've already found something that doesn't. So that's awesome news. I mean, it's a pain in my butt because I haven't touched the thing yet, but I love that we're starting to see that momentum. So that's great.
yeah, that same type of thing. Though they also did a bunch of SharePoint page publishing enhancements. So really, there's a whole set of those, but the undo redo was probably the most interesting one for me. Right, just a simple little addition, but yay, we can undo and redo our changes. We've got a vertical layout. So just a bunch of little things that you can easily skip. But to your point, customers asked about them 5 seconds after they showed up because it was a pent up demand and
Yeah.
people want this stuff. SharePoint consulting is hard.
Yep. So I got you for a couple more minutes. On that same note, two things I wanted to mention. Mark has a blog post on using the new invoke SPO site swap commandlet to swap site collections inside of your tenant. It's not out for everybody yet, so if you don't have it, don't fret. You'll probably get it. You will need to make sure you're running a semi-new version of the SPO commandlets. And you can go to my blog, and there's a SharePoint Office 365 PowerShell installs link at the top. That'll tell you which versions are current. You can get those from there. But this is the ability to take a site collection in your tenant and swap it with the home site, and I think any other site, but I'm not sure. But there are two really good scenarios for this. One is staging. So now you can build a site collection one place while you're using another one and then swap them and put that in. And the other one is we've had this problem where you couldn't have a communication site as your root site. And so then you put a team site there, but then you want to do all this modern stuff, but you can't because you had to put a team site there, and this will let you swap that in and make that work. So Mark's got a couple of blog posts on that. He's got a using it and then an update to it. I'll be honest, I haven't played with this much, but definitely check that out. So that is one way that Microsoft is helping us move to modern pages because now we can move that home page there. And get that. The other thing is for folks that have been in SharePoint Online for a while, we've got a bunch of classic pages. You got the early adopters, and now we've got modern pages, and modern pages have the things that we need. And the PNP, the Patterns and Practices Project, has a page modernization framework, and it's also available through the PNP PowerShell. It's available through APIs and all that, but also the PowerShell, which is what I've been doing. But I've got a couple of customer projects that have been using the page modernization, and it is working great. And so this is a customer that's got thousands of classic pages that they want to move to modern sites and modernize them and take advantage and do modern web parts and all that. And with a couple hours tweaking an XML file and a little PowerShell sprinkled in for good measure, I'm making some really awesome looking modern pages for them that maintain all of the content and all the publishing dates and all that stuff of the original ones in the new ones. I was on a call this morning with Bert Jansen at Microsoft, who's kind of heading that thing up. They've got new features coming out when the stuff drops. I mean, they're just constantly doing it. So if you've got classic pages and want to make them modern, check that framework out.
Yeah, that's and did you see the announcement back in, was it June, the modernization scanner that they put out?
Yep, that is also a good one. Yep.
Yeah, so I haven't used that one yet, but I tripped over that in this same type of conversation. Like, oh, how would we find all of them? And I'm like, oh, somehow in June I missed they rolled that thing out. So very nice of the Microsoft team to continue to help us to get to modern sites.
They really want us to be modern. All right, so you turn into a pumpkin here in like 30 seconds. Do you have any talks you're doing or anything you want to promote before we let you go?
I mean, I'm doing the thing in October. I still haven't grabbed all the notes. The business application, or no, the Power User Group Summit in Orlando in October.
Yep.
So I've still got that to do.
All right.
I'm working on some new Power Apps training classes that hopefully maybe next week I'll have be ready to share information on. But no, I have not figured out who to bribe to get an Ignite session yet. So still don't have
And
anything there.
there's some online flow thing going on too. I saw John posting about
Oh, good
that.
call. Yeah, next Tuesday, right? But this won't be out. This won't be out before that conference happens. So
Yeah. But there's a bunch of that out there. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. And that's kind of, Shane and I have been pretty sporadic the last couple of months. It has just been crazy with all of the new things coming out in Office 365. Customer demand has been insane. It's a good time to be doing what we're doing.
it is. Other than doing the podcast portion. So
Yeah,
all right.
that's
Anything from you
it.
before we call today?
Nope, I am good. Everybody, chat room. I'll stick around for a bit, but you take off. You got things to do. Babies to kiss.
Toodles.
See you next week. All right.
Man, all of a sudden it attacked me, and I'm like trying to talk and get through it. I'm like, I gotta finish these words, but I want to sneeze.
Allergy season. Get out of here, dude. I don't want you to be late.
Yep. Thanks. See you guys.
See ya.